Welcome to the University of Massachusetts Boston. We're so grateful for your presence. I'm so grateful for all the children that are here. Thank you all for coming. I know it's tough. You didn't know what you were coming to, but listen, we got plenty of food, nice things that are going to happen tonight. We're so glad. Good evening, everybody. Everyone in this room is a special guest. We're so grateful to have your presence. I even have someone who called so many fouls on me when I was an athlete. And I look over and I see my man Franny Poley and all those folk back there. Thank you for being here. But welcome again. My name is Keith Motley, and I'm honored to be the 8th Chancellor of the University of Massachusetts Boston. But I'm also honored to be someone who has the opportunity to build on the legacy of tremendously talented leadership, value-driven people who've led this institution long before I even thought about coming to Boston. I always knew about Boston because Boston is something, even as a child in Pittsburgh, I learned about from my parents, from books. Whenever you think about education and where you should go in the world to get that, you know you should come here. And so, as Chancellor here, I'm so honored to be in Boston at this time, leading this institution, and I'm so glad you're so happy to be here too. We've gathered this evening, however. Tonight, it's not about Keith. Now, this is a room I love coming into because most of the time I come in here, it's about what we're trying to do here. But tonight, it's not about me. It's about the legacy of the former Boston State College president, Dr. William F. Looney. We have his great-grandchildren here. And I'm so grateful that you guys, that you're here. You pumped me up. I was getting a little tired, and I saw you, and I'm like, what? Oh my God. Shortly, we're going to unveil his portrait, which has been added to the permanent exhibit in the Boston State College room that's right next door. I hope you snuck in that room already. I run into a lot of people, and they say to me, well, what about Boston State? What about Boston State? Boston State is a tremendous part of our legacy. We'll never forget Boston State. We're joined tonight by Dr. Looney's children, and I would like to recognize his son, William. Where's his son, William, at? Yes. His daughter, Ursula Kate. I'd like to recognize his daughter in State College at Boston alumni, Ann Paulson, who are here with us. Give them a round of applause. We're also pleased to be joined by former Boston State faculty and college graduates who were students during Dr. Looney's tenure as president. We extend a special welcome to the members of the State Teachers College at Boston, class of 1960. Raise your hand if you were a faculty member or a student during the time of Dr. Looney. Raise your hand. Oh, yeah. See, all around the room. I'd also like to recognize Class President Jim Collins and Class Secretary James Foley, who are here tonight. They're among the invited students who joined Dr. Looney's family, education leaders, and other distinguished guests at the 1957 State Teachers Ceremony, at which Dr. Looney's painted portrait was presented to the college. Indeed, history repeats itself. The annual milestones of commencement and this reunion celebration that we're having this weekend allow us to reflect on our university's history and mission. If you missed commencement yesterday, you missed something special. Your university showed up to almost 20,000 people out on that waterfront. And more, because some people know that we're doing the commencement in the morning, but we're awarding degrees in the afternoon. And so they made their ways to the tent. So probably over 30,000 people were out here on this peninsula. I know you knew it when it was time to leave. I saw the traffic jam. And so tonight we look back. We look back at our tremendous legacy of one of the Commonwealth's most distinguished leaders in public higher education, Dr. William Looney, your great granddaddy. Now, just a little bit. President Looney directed the college during the period of its greatest growth, overseeing an expansion that dramatically increased the size and the diversity of its student body, faculty, curriculum, and facilities. When he was appointed president at then Teachers College of the City of Boston in 1948, the college enrolled 300 students, and they were all women who prepared for careers in teaching. There was also under 40 faculty at that time. In 1952, when the city moved to close the Teachers College, he convinced the state, see, a forward thinker, he convinced the state legislature to incorporate into the state college system. And at his retirement in 1968, Boston State had become the largest of the state colleges. Its student body numbered nearly 5,000 students, from 300 students when he got here to 5,000 students when he was retiring, passing that legacy on to those who would lead in the future. About half of them became men. Faculty had increased sevenfold to 280, from 40 faculty to 280 faculty. And the academic programs expanded to include liberal arts and professional concentrations. The Collins, Kennedy, Fenway, Harvard, and the new gymnasium buildings have been added. You know, presidents/chancellors love to build stuff. We keep erector sets in our offices. I have little buses and trucks running around on my floor. I get on my knees and I play with them because we're always thinking about the future. Planning and funding were complete for construction of the new tower building, which was later renamed in his honor in 1980. The late University of Massachusetts Boston and Boston State history professor, Robert Dunbar, prepared the biographical sketch that appeared in the program for that building's dedication. Is that right? Oh, we got it. It's right, you got it. We got it right. He wrote, in the words of the language he taught as a young instructor, Dr. Looney was a paterfamilias of Boston State College, nurturing its growth as it became one of the city's major institutions of higher learning. Ultimately, what this Boston State College patriarch accomplished cannot be measured by statistics alone. By dramatically expanding the opportunity of a college education for scores of many young people, including many of the young people in this room, he prepared a generation for positions of leadership in Boston, the Commonwealth, and our nation. And that is something we can all be proud of. As the Chancellor of the University of Massachusetts Boston, I recognize that the public university I lead today builds on the contributions made by both my predecessors in this post and those who served as president of Boston State College and its predecessor institutions. Today, as your university, the University of Massachusetts Boston experiences growth in so many areas. We are poised to broaden our reach to even more who seek a high quality, accessible, and most importantly, affordable university excellent level education. President Looney set a high standard. We seek to continue that high standard. For all of us who followed him, that is our goal. In what he accomplished in his time, I see a tremendous source of inspiration for what we will do in ours. Dr. Looney's legacy at Boston State College and now the University of Massachusetts Boston is not limited to his professional record. It can also be seen in the members of his immediate and extended family that also have ties to this institution. His beloved wife, Ursula Ryan Looney, was a graduate of the Teachers College of the City of Boston. Earlier I mentioned that his daughter Ann is a State Teachers College at Boston alumna. I got you. I'm working up to you. I'm working up to you. But I'll say it now. Ursula, a graduate as well. See, I already sort of hyped you guys up. I got you up front. His nephew, Jack Looney, also a graduate of State Teachers College, was on the Boston State faculty, and then came to this university, the University of Massachusetts Boston, where he continued a most distinguished career in environmental sciences as an environmental scientist until his retirement this year. Just a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of presenting Jack with the Chancellor's Medal, the university's highest honor for his distinguished service to public education. And so, today, Dr. Looney and his wife, Ursula Ryan Looney, would certainly be proud that their granddaughter, Professor Ursula Tate, continues the proud Boston State tradition at the University of Massachusetts Boston. She's a lecturer in the Department of Political Science and International Relations at the McCormick Graduate School of Public Policies. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Professor Ursula Tate.
For your kind words of introduction, for your constant and genuine efforts to keep the memory, spirit, and mission of Boston State College and its predecessor institutions alive and well at the University of Massachusetts Boston. We are here tonight to celebrate Boston State College and its first president, my grandfather, Dr. William F. Looney. I grew up hearing stories about Boston State College, and I was always proud when I heard my grandfather, Papa, addressed as President Looney. I learned in my youth, as all his 17 grandchildren did, that Papa had worked his whole life as a teacher, and that the proudest accomplishment of his career was the creation of Boston State College. When the decision was made to close Boston State and incorporate it into UMass Boston, I remember my grandfather was sad, but I don't remember him angry. And while I know now that the decision was controversial at the time, and perhaps to some it so remains, my experiences, after 8 years of teaching here, make me see the relationship between Boston State College and UMass Boston as a union, one which, like a marriage, made each partner stronger. The union of Boston State College and UMass Boston is to this day a union of flesh and blood. From the university's provost, Winston Langley, to Jack Looney, Professor Emeritus, whose efforts were so central to making this evening possible. To my own colleague in the Department of Political Science in the McCormick Graduate School, Professor Robert Weiner, the halls and classrooms of the University of Massachusetts Boston continue to be filled by those who knew my grandfather or who were part of the Boston State College community. The best and the truest reflection of the more perfect union created when Boston State and UMass Boston were joined is its students, who now number 15,000 strong. I consider myself unbelievably lucky to spend my days surrounded by exactly the kinds of hardworking and dedicated students for whom my grandfather dedicated his life and worked so long and hard to make Boston State a reality. My grandfather understood, from his own experiences and from those of many others, that the opportunity for quality higher education was not a privilege bestowed only upon those with the proper pedigree or economic means. Higher education was not the exclusive domain of those of particular race, religion, gender, or national origin. My grandfather believed, to his core, that the opportunity for a first-class college education is a right which should be made accessible to any man or woman of any race, religion, or national origin who is able and willing to put forth the effort that is required to achieve it. The mission and the passion that drove my grandfather throughout his professional life was to make sure that those who were prepared to work hard to achieve their dreams would have the opportunity to do so. This is the same mission and the same passion that is found at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. The same mission and passion that the Chancellor, the Provost, and all the faculty and staff here strive to fulfill each and every day. UMass Boston is an institution of higher education that welcomes students who might otherwise have given up on their dreams. Students who in their youth may have not lived up to their potential get a second and sometimes a third chance at University of Massachusetts, Boston. Students who may have delayed their dreams of going to college so they could serve their country in the armed forces, and now, having returned, often after experiencing war, are eager to begin the next, hopefully more peaceful stage of their lives. Students who chose first to work and raise a family, but are now able to dedicate energy to their own dreams of going to college. These are the students of UMass Boston, though decades removed from my grandfather's career and from the brick and mortar of Boston State College. They are the same students my grandfather adored, believed in, and helped to build a college to educate. These are the students that all of us at UMass Boston continue to adore, believe in, and to educate. There's a moment every year when the missions of Boston State College and UMass Boston are joined and witnessed by thousands. It's during my favorite part of the commencement ceremony, when the Chancellor asks all those who are the first in their families to graduate from college to please rise. With those words, a wave of black gowns and mortarboards adorned with golden tassels sweeps across the campus lawn and is met by a flood of applause. It is in this moment that the ripple effect of education is on full display. Each of these seniors, who was the first in their family to graduate from college, will have opportunities in life that would never have been possible otherwise. Their children will have higher expectations of themselves and further opportunities made available to them, and so on and so on. My grandfather knew that this was the true power of education. He witnessed the reality and force of this power in his own family. As the first in his family to graduate from college, my grandfather passed the expectations of working hard in school and taking advantage of opportunities that come your way onto his children, Bill, Ursula, and Anne, each of whom went on to gain advanced degrees and enter professional careers in education or law. They, in turn, passed the same, perhaps even more demanding, expectations onto their children. Whether my siblings and cousins decided to follow their parents into education or law, as many of us have, or venture on their own paths in social work or business, carpentry or music, advocating on behalf of those with substance abuse problems, becoming a pastry chef or a homemaker, whether they chose to join the Peace Corps or to join the circus. Each of my grandfather's grandchildren has been a beneficiary of the choices and opportunities that were made possible almost a century ago when he took advantage of the opportunities for higher education that were made available to him. My grandfather was an educator his whole life, in the classroom and beyond. From teaching his grandchildren to drive, to agreeing to be a third grade show and tell display. One of his grandchildren was asked to bring in an item from the 19th century. To holding us all mesmerized during those dark days when the wicked curse of the Bambino still hung heavy over Boston of Red Sox World Series victories. He never stopped teaching. This was, for him, the purpose of his life. I want to conclude my remarks, which I'm afraid may have gone on too long, by thanking Chancellor Motley again for his presence here this evening, and in recognition of his continued support of my grandfather's beloved Boston State College, his children, Bill, Ursula, and Ann, along with their spouses, Larry, Tate, and Fred Paulson, would like to make a donation to the university to be used for whichever purpose you believe to be most worthy. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
We've come to the moment that we've all been waiting for here. Let's just say this, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful to all of you for being here. More importantly, we're grateful that in this space, we could honor the memory of such an outstanding individual, but permanently connect all of that work here. Know that my mission as chancellor is to pass the legacy of all of those predecessors on in our work. And so his name will live on here forever at this institution. Now the face will be here as well. We're so grateful. And so I'm going to ask the family, I want you to do, I'll put my hand somewhere over here, but you guys turn around. And we're going, and if we pull together, I think it will come down. Okay, 1, 2, 3.